And it is 7:43 here on this Friday morning, and it's time for Friday with the Fuzz, so I'll hand it over to Mr. Michael Green.
Thank you, Derek. In studio with me today is Elgin's Chief of Police, Jeff Swoboda. Had a busy week. Thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Yes, very busy week. Thanks for having me. Happy Friday.
Good stuff, which we'll get to. Also, I guess good too, right? We kind of broke it here, well, not good stuff, but we broke it here last Friday that there was some stuff going on. It was still very early in the investigation. There was an incident, I guess, that started in one location and then moved on to another large group of individuals, some fighting, maybe some shots fired. Can you enlighten us any more and what's going on with that? Any arrests made?
Yeah, no arrests made. We're still investigating this one, but yeah, I think it was last Friday we were on the show as officers were out on Ann Street earlier in the morning, and I think it was probably somewhere around. I shouldn't say, but I think it was around 2 o'clock in the morning.
Press release 2:45 a.m. Yep.
Yeah, there was a large fight as an establishment was letting out here in downtown Elgin, and every officer in the entire city had to come down and help kind of control things.
Wow.
So yeah, it was
how many officers
kind of a mess.
How was that?
About that time, I think every officer was available because there were a few that were working on other things, but I think we probably had 10 officers down there. So, and on the night shift, we might have 15 or so working. So it was a large event for a little while. I think there were maybe a few citations issued, and then kind of moved everybody along. But a couple people showed up over on Ann Street, and fight ensued. Shots were fired. A couple cars were struck. An individual was struck. I think in the press release talked about too. We followed somebody as they were leaving the scene, and basically thought we had a chase going, and it ended up going to the hospital where we.
They led you to the hospital.
Yeah. And so we're still investigating that, but there's a lot of, like anything when there's a fight, a lot of he said, she said, as far as not necessarily male-female, but one side versus the other side, and so getting witnesses to come forward with information. I know the detectives are still working on it, and hopefully we'll have something here in the future, but nothing really more on that going on right now.
Talk about sometimes cases take a while, and you're kind of give as much information as you can, at the time when it comes out, but sometimes there's information that can't be released because you feel that it's pertinent information that if they're savvy enough in listening or paying attention to releases or following on Facebook or whatever, where they might know something. You did make an arrest back on, I have a press release from August 3rd, and it was an incident that happened June 10th. So, nearly 2 months later, you were able to apprehend a street robbery, right? Suspect.
Yeah, what was the date? June? Was it June 10th?
June 10th.
Yeah, June 10th. We had a robbery. I think it was early morning hours, and these take a long time. And many of the crimes that are occurring kind of involve sometimes the same individual. So we might be dealing with them on somebody on a street robbery one day, and then involved in a large fight or a shooting or something later. And so our detectives are always working on it and seeing the different angles that are happening as other people get in trouble, more information comes forward. So a lot of times when things like this happen, there's always a very quick response. What are the police doing about it? What's going on with this? And those are great questions to ask, but they take time, and it takes time to, again, get together all the information. Many times, again, when we're talking about this fight over on Ann Street and who were the witnesses that were potentially there and how many people were in downtown Elgin. I mean, you're talking about, dozens and dozens, and I think I'm being generous there because we're probably looking at more than 100 at some point, or just many people who were there. So you're tracking down different witnesses, and it takes a long time sometimes. Sometimes we have somebody right there and we're able to make an arrest. Other times it takes longer. So this is an example of one of the robberies that was occurring, and we were able to make an arrest about 2 months later after the incident. So good police work by the detectives, continue to follow up, and we're glad we're able to make an arrest. I think 2 individuals were charged with it, so that one worked out well.
On Tuesday night, right? It was National Night Out?
Yeah.
I think you posted 170-something pictures or something on your Facebook page with it.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. I mean, you had the big event over at Festival Park for the neighborhoods that weren't doing, but you also had, if I remember correctly, 34
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
neighborhoods that 35? Of course, Christine. Yeah, you're wrong. You missed it by 1, she says. So 35 different events, and how many did you happen to make it to?
I think we made it to 6, and then the one in downtown Elgin. We went over to Festival Park as well. But the kickoff, we always start off in the lobby, and we have a coloring contest and a drawing contest that goes on. We're able to give out some awards. We were able to put those pictures out. We had some kids from Elgin who put in some awards about National Night Out and police and safety.
Oh, I saw the pictures.
Yeah.
Those are pretty cute.
It was very nice. And so the kids came with their parents. They got their picture taken. But council members there. State Attorney Joe McMahon was there, and we go around and we kind of talk about what we're doing and all the different parties and get everybody prepped and where which parties they're stopping off at. And take a big picture, and then everybody heads off and spends about the next 2 hours driving around Elgin and hitting all the different parties. And just, Colin Fleury had read in the paper when he was talking about it, by about the fourth party, you really shouldn't eat, but you don't want to be rude, so you just have one more cookie at the end of the night.
Yeah, one more cookie.
Yeah, so you don't want to say, I don't want anything, so it'd be rude not to have a cookie, right? So we end up at Festival Park, and it was just packed. Anybody that was... Well, first of all, back to the parties. Every one of my parties was very well attended. I don't think I was at a party with less than 40 people at it.
Yeah.
So, and there was one with well over 100. So it was just a great night, and we have so much fun. I was with City Manager Stiegel, Tish Powell was with us, Sergeant Mark Whaley, and we had Grimace with us from McDonald's, and so hit a bunch of different parties and had a lot of fun.
Had some good dance moves.
So yes, there were some good dance moves. Grimace was out there dancing at one of the parties. We put one of those videos up. But it is just it's all. I always go into it knowing it's going to be a good time. But afterwards, I'm always really energized because at each one you do hear about issues going on in neighborhoods. With speeding, parking, something's going on. So there's always
some of the stuff
something
you heard.
to work on.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah. Some of it was some parking issues. One of the ones specifically was a school. They were living across the street from a school, and when the drop-off comes, when pickup and drop-off comes, it makes it very difficult for them. I mean, people literally pulling in their driveway and parking and getting out of the car, not just like pulling in, turning around, and going out.
Walking their kids to the school.
Walking their kids across the street, and the woman was like, I came out, and the person was like, hey, do you mind? Can you wait like 1 minute? I'm just going to run her across the street. And she's like, no, I do mind. Don't leave your car in my driveway.
It's my driveway.
So those are some of the things that we'll work with the school with. I know we're going. I mean, everyone knows we're going into the school year now, and
August 17th, I think
it's coming up.
Yeah.
And we always meet with the schools. John Heiderscheid for the safety, and then we also our school resource officers and our traffic division will also be out there meeting with principals and just kind of figuring out what should be the flow, because that is one of the biggest issues right now as far as kids being dropped off at school and the parents with where they park, how they do it, which way they drive in, and so it's a big endeavor. And so those were a couple of the issues that came up at some of the parties, but at each one, just a lot of great just conversation about what's going on, and that's the part that's like so encouraging, because at the same time we talked about before we went out, there was we had a couple of the shootings, and people were hey, what's going on? What are you working on? And at the same time we tell people, yeah, we are working on it. It's always the same. There's a small number of people in Elgin who are continuously getting in trouble, who continue, there's always gang issues that are going on between a few people, and many times they're not even about gangs. It's over a fight over a girl or something happened at work or whatever. And so we're working on those, but let's not forget that we're on the right path. There's a lot of good stuff going on, and I said I looked it up because Christy and I were talking. It was, I think, 2 months ago that we put out the press release where, based on Part 1 crime and the size of Elgin, it's one of the safest communities, and I think we're second in Illinois, and I forget what it is in the nation. But it doesn't mean we don't have work to do. But it's a few incidents. Let's not think everything's going wrong here. So we're continue to work these cases, and hopefully we'll be making some arrests on some of them if we can, if some more people come forward. But otherwise, a lot of positive stuff happening in the neighborhood groups that were out there. Just everyone was having just a great time.
Is it? I assume, right? It's such a relaxed atmosphere with the neighborhood parties that are going on and stuff like that. You're kind of hanging out, maybe having a burger, or having a bottle of water. That it's just got to be comforting for somebody to walk up and just, even for that person, to walk up to you and just say, "Hey, I got a question for you," as opposed to walking into the police station, like we talked about before, walking up those steps, walking into the lobby, going to the front desk, asking to speak with you or with an officer or whatever else. It's just like, hey, there's the chief of police. I got a question. I'm going to go ask him. I mean, is that how they come across most times? I mean, do you kind of know? Do you kind of, can you sense out of the corner of your eye, like, oh, this person's in there. They want to come talk to me. I can tell. I can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is a very relaxed atmosphere, and that's really the point of this whole thing. It's to find out, what are some of the things going on. And some of it was, police issues and, some parking issues, that type of stuff, speeding or not stopping for stop signs. Many other were kind of city issues. What's the city doing about this? And many people are very aware of what's going on, especially with the state and the whole state of coming up with a budget and all those things. So I know the council people, the mayor, will get asked questions as far as what's the city doing about this. So it is, because sometimes as much as we think, when I say we, the police department think we're out there and we're involved and we are at every neighborhood meeting, 110,000 people in Elgin. So we're not going to get to everybody. We're not going to, be lucky to get to, 10%, 15%. So there's a large number of people who maybe don't go to neighborhood meetings.
And the ones that you're getting to are usually the ones that maybe don't want to cooperate the most or talk to you the most, but they're not the ones that have the information that you need. Right?
It's all over, right. Sometimes it's through arrests that we're talking with people. Other times it's through neighborhood meetings. So yeah, it's always
you're
different.
Subjected to the people that come to those, as opposed to you going to them.
Exactly.
So
in these parties, it was actually interesting. At one of the neighborhood parties, there was an issue with some kids that were, they ride their bikes, but then they just kind of get, they're riding down the middle of the street, so cars can't get around. And so as we were standing there, some of the kids were there. So it was a perfect time. Like, actually, that story we just told you, there they are. So Sergeant Whaley went over and spoke with the kids and just kind of explained that type of stuff. And of course, it wasn't them. It wasn't the kids that, there's kids who look just like them with similar bikes in that exact same neighborhood. But hopefully we got the message across. And it was during a nice atmosphere. There was no, it wasn't a police call for service where we just walk up to some kids and talk to them. So it's through those types of encounters, I think, that we'll continue to build relationships, make sure people have the right information so that we can, educate them. They can educate us as to what they're seeing in their neighborhoods. Because as much as we think we know what's going on in the neighborhoods, until you live there and you see it and you feel it, and it's one thing to, I always tell people, it's one thing to get a call for service about a loud, a guy who pulls up next door and beeps the horn at 6 in the morning for somebody to come out.
For the last,
right. Because at some point it's like, okay, he beeped the horn. There's bigger things going on in Elgin.
Right.
So you live next door, and every day at 6 in the morning you're woken up because your neighbor needs to go out to the car. So then it becomes real. And I really learned that in the resident officer program as well.
I was just going to say, that's why I love the ROP program.
Yeah, it is. You feel it. So, it's one thing to understand it or think you understand it, or somebody tells you a story, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll look into it. And then it's another thing for you to be woken up and you're like, okay, I'm done. And so I remember that with loud music. There were cars that would come and pick people up, and I would hear it, and after a while it's like, okay, I'm getting myself up at 5 in the morning to catch this person and tell them to knock it off. So it was a great night. Sherry, Asher-Brenner, Christy,
with your badge on.
Exactly. Jump out. Sherry and Christy just nailed it again, and all the volunteers they get. I came in, was down in the lobby somewhere around 10 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, and we had volunteers from our Citizen Police Academy Alumni Association down there helping blow up balloons and put bags together. And these are people who are just volunteering their time to help Elgin. And so it's just one of those great days where you just see all the hard work that we're doing and the community's doing and everybody coming together. It's just, and then to end up at Festival Park with the amount of people that were there for movie night, it was just an awesome night.
And I think special kudos go out to Sherry Ashenbrenner and Chrissy Hilton, right? You said.
No, not Christy Hilton. She doesn't get credit. She gets credit for enough. this one's Christy Schmidt.
Yeah, right. They really put together a national night out, right?
Oh, yeah, they do it. And
it's a year-long project almost, right? They'll be starting in on it in a couple of weeks to plan for next year.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I always like to, the day of National Night, I always do something. I think I sent Sherry Ashenbrenner or something. Say, hey, can we push back the starting time just 30 minutes? I said, I've got something. I got a conflict. So you always get, because Sherry gets very focused. We'll call it focused, all right? She's very focused on all the parties. But, yeah, it starts months in advance, and everybody's there counting on you and making sure that everything is set from the parties. And it's funny because we show up at the parties, and here it is. You have the police chief, the city manager, a council person, Grimace, another sergeant, and they're like, "Where's the fire truck?" It's like, okay, come on, we can't win, right? They care less about that. They want to see a fire truck, And so it's a lot of fun. But yeah, Christy and Sherry do all that work, and it doesn't just happen. And so we talked about that before we went out in the lobby of the police department, and everyone always gives them a nice round of applause because it's a ton of work.
You had a lot of posts this week on your Explorers program, and some great photos and stories behind that. Maybe finish up the show kind of talking about the program. And I can tell you that my son Jake in our village went to a meeting for their Explorers program, went to the first one, and came back and said that was absolutely awful. It was so boring, and it seemed so disorganized. And he didn't want to go back for a second or the third meeting. So
and you don't live in Elgin,
and I don't live in Elgin. Right. So I point that out. it takes a lot of work, right, to make it right. And I think this is the first year that our community has launched the Explorers program, and so I don't know if they came to you guys or if other villages or towns or cities come to you and say, "Hey, how are you guys doing this?" I know they do in other circumstances.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they did or not, but you kind of learn from everyone. And I'm sure when we started, but there probably weren't as many when we started, because as long as I've been a police officer, we've had our Explorer program. And really,
how many years is that now?
I've been on 23 years,
wow.
And we've been.
I know we've had
multiple
right?
officers. Exactly. We had multiple people who have been hired. They were explorers, and now they're police officers.
That's a neat story.
In fact, we have a lot of the pictures that are up there. And so I went down to the Explorer Conference, and just for a little bit, they were on lunch. I went down and saw them, and it's they're just such an awesome group of kids that are. They represent the city of Elgin, the Elgin Police Department, so well, and everyone should be. I know I'm very proud of them, and everyone listening should be extremely proud of these kids, because they do. They volunteer so much time. Whether you come down to a concert in downtown Elgin, or you go to the parade, or many times just fingerprinting for kids, or registering bicycles, or whatever. These kids are just always available. I think our numbers are probably now, we always hover somewhere between 50 and 100. Sometimes we have a big influx. Other times we have people that get out. But it's all over the place, and it's fantastic to see. And so they give so much time and energy. And this is one time they show up. And I think that I was talking to one of the people who were putting on the conference. I think he said there were around 35 or 40 different police departments that were all there, and I think we sent maybe around 10 to 15 or so. And there's different groups, and so you don't know what you're going to draw. You might draw mountain biking, and so they have a mountain bike course. There's a physical fitness course. There's building searches. There's CPR. So you're learning all the different things that a police officer might go to, and they have to work as a team. And we always perform very well there, and it's so much of the credit obviously belongs to the kids, but then also the counselors. And then Officer Jones is down there right now, Officer Essick. There's, I know Kevin Senny, the sergeant, is over it. Jeff Adam was one of the people who really has pushed over the past couple of years with our Explorer program. So they're down there now. They're doing great work. They're having a lot of fun, but they're learning a lot. And one of our Officer Wilson's son, he was given an award by the city of Elgin already, about a life-saving award when he was down at a chess match, and so they're also recognizing him there. So there's just so much good work that our kids and our Explorer program is doing. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of energy, and but they're doing great work down there. So it's a lot of fun, and I was able to go down there, spend a little time with them, and we'll see here tonight. I think is their banquet, and we'll see which ones they won. But again, winning's just nice to see. But at the end of it, I know they're competing, they're having a great time, and they're representing the city of Elgin, the Elgin Police Department, very well.
Excellent. Anything else before we let you go?
Oh, sorry. I don't know. I don't think there's anything else going on, and so everybody just have a happy and safe weekend. But yeah, I'd love to have something exciting. But I got nothing. A
little time down. Hopefully some downtime. It'd be nice.
It'd be nice to have a nice quiet weekend, but
never really happens. Though, does it?
It's summertime, so there's always something going on. There's always something going on. But if anybody needs anything, give us a call, and we'll be there.
Excellent. Elgin Chief of Police, Jeff Swoboda. Jeff, I thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Have yourself a great weekend.
You're listening to AM 1410, WRMN.
And Elgin.